Okay, now Uncle Fred had two sets of children, and he married uh, uh, his first wife. Left him about 1920, and she had a son named Matthew and a daughter named Elizabeth, and she took them to California. They were about 4 or 5 years old. So every summer I'd go, I mean, every winter I'd say, and I've been out there in the summer, I'd go to Los Angeles to stay with Elizabeth, get my golf game together. And then I, get a jump on the fellas that have been back here all winter. And he also had two other children by Aunt Laura. And the oldest one of them is a boy named Fred Gaines Jr. He now lives in Newark, and has a daughter named Ella Mae Gaines. She was written up in Ebony, and also Jet. A couple of years ago, she was appointed to state librarian of the state of Virginia.
Oh.
And I keep in contact with her. In fact, I have some pictures I'll show you later on of Ella Mae when she was appointed state librarian of the state of Virginia, and she handles all the archives and has been doing a complimentary job. And also the next oldest was my aunt Elizabeth. She used to be a hairdresser. She lived in Philly for a while, but she went back to Atlanta and continued her trade in the early 40s. And then my father had another brother named Uncle Robert. He went to Cincinnati years ago, and he had 3 boys. The oldest one was Leroy, who's deceased, and he had 2 other sons named George Fred, who has 7 children, and they're scattered mostly in California from San Francisco to San Diego. And he has 24 grandchildren.
24 grandchildren?
24 grandchildren. That's there. He has about 3 sons, and one of them lives in San Francisco, one of them lives in Oakland, and he has a daughter, Florence, that lives in San Diego, and another daughter, I forget her name, that lives in Riverside, California. And he had 7 children, one named Willie Andrew, and he has another son, George Fred, that lives in Cincinnati. He's retired meat inspector from the Department of Agriculture. And my father had another daughter. No, my father had another sister that lived in Philly for a while. Her name was Idas, and then she ended up back in Georgia. But she has a daughter named Vera, a daughter named Mae Francis, that deceased a couple of years ago, and she has a daughter named Believer, who lives in Atlanta. Believer has a son named Uric that lives in Atlanta. He used to have a restaurant. Now he's in his own business as a cabinet maker, making kitchen cabinets in Atlanta. And then my Aunt Idas, that was my father's baby sister, she has a son named Hezekiah Daniels that lives in Baltimore, and he's got a heavy steel construction business in Baltimore, Maryland. In fact, he just landed a steel contract to do the structure for Park Sausage Building, a $500,000 contract. He's supposed to have that completed by May this year. And my father had another sister named Essie, and she lived in Georgia on a farm all her life, and she has a daughter named Aretha that's still farming in Crawfordville, Georgia, where my father's hometown was. And he had my Aunt Essie had a son named MC. It has about 4 children in Far Rockaway, New York. Well, his children and grandchildren are scattered all around. In fact, he has a son that's a doctor. His name is Stephen. He's finishing up his apprenticeship in Bethesda, Maryland. And he has another son that was a captain in the Marines. He just moved back from Cerritos, California to Brooklyn because his mother was going blind. And my father also had a sister named Lustella. She died in Cincinnati about 20 years ago. And Lustella has a son named Arthur D. Wilson, and her ex-husband, Mr. Wilson, which is my uncle by marriage, he's still living. He's 97 or 98. He lives in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a son. They had a son named Arthur D. Wilson Jr. And he had a filling station and automotive shop in Atlanta, and he's still living in Atlanta. And I guess that's all. Now, my father had another brother named Dwelly. He was afflicted on one side. He lived in Atlanta till his death. He has a daughter named Cordelia that lives in West Philly. And Cordelia has 2 daughters named Rosalind and Diane. Diane lives in Pittsburgh. She's a social worker. And Rosalind just got a job as a chemist with Merck. What's that? Merck and Merck. What's that? Merck and Dome.
I'm not clear.
That's a chemical company. Yeah, drug, pharmaceutical. Merck Shop and Dome.
Okay.
So anyhow, that's right. I forgot about my father's baby brother. He died in the country. He took over my father's plantation when my father came to Philly in 1922. I was only about 9 months old. And General, his baby brother, was named General. He died. They say he was poisoned because he was eating in the wrong place. And
it's not funny.
Yeah, he has a daughter named Lena. He just had the one child. And Lena had 2 sons, Larry and Herb Jr. Larry just retired as a sergeant with homicide in the police department. And now he's working as a GS9 with the environmental, what's that, EPA?
Yes.
Protection Agency. And she has another son that's a supervisor in the FBI that has a home in Alexandria, Virginia. He works out of Washington FBI headquarters.
Do you recall your father's parents, which would have been your grandparents?
Yeah, Leroy and Cordelia Gaines.
Were they born into slavery or at the end of it?
They were born about 8 years before emancipation.
Okay, that was 1865, I believe.
That's when emancipation was. Yeah.
Okay. Now, your grandparents' name
1863, I think, was emancipation year.
Yes, the Civil War was 1865, and I hope this is not a history quiz because I would probably flunk it. But your grandparents' name was
Cordelia and Leroy.
Okay.
On my father's side.
On your father's side.
Mm-hmm. Cordelia was a Hardy, and Ben Harding was a white slave owner, and he went and bought my great-grandmother Charlotte off an auction block in Richmond, Virginia, and he came back to Washington, Georgia, and had more children by my great-grandmother Charlotte Harding than he did by his white wife. But when he died, he left all his riches to the Hardy, the white side of the family.
Now, on your father's side, that's on your grandfather's side, that was your great-grandmother.
Yeah.
and that came down to your grandmother's side.
Yeah.
So on your grandfather's side, how far can you extend?
Well, I tell you, my grandfather's name was Leroy, and his father's name was Davy Gaines.
Okay, where did they originate from?
Right there in Georgia.
Okay.
And I told you that when Davy and Leroy came out of slavery, Leroy was about 7 or 8 years old, and Davy had enough money from working as a boss overseer, and he bought an acre of land, and he started making a bale of cotton, and he made a bale of cotton. In fact, his wife plowed him till they made a bale of cotton, and they was able to buy a mule.
Is that what your grandfather told you about?
No,
how
my father told me.
Okay,
yeah, my father just died 3 years ago, and he was 97.
Okay.
So he was born 1889. He knew about what was happening firsthand from those that his parents that came out of slavery.
Okay. So that's pretty much I think we pretty much touched base on your father's side and your mother's side. I
Right.
We traced them back, and we found out that some of them were born in slavery. Your great grandfather.
Yeah, right.
And great grandmother.
Right.
Now let's come back to you, Mr. Gaines. Do you have any religious affiliations?
Oh yeah, I belong to Zion Church, and I'm active with the drama club. I just showed you some of the skits from Pearlie, where I played Old Captain, the slave master. And that scene was in Georgia, by the way, in that play. And I brought back some real actual memories.
Well, yes, I can see now.
Yeah, and then the last year, I tell you, I think before, when we were filming for When It's Your Turn, it brought back memories when we had to put my father in the home, like you all had to put me in the home in that play. In the end of the play, well, I had to put my father in the home the last year of his life, but he was 95 then, and he lasted till a couple months more. He would have been 97. But he was a hellraiser in the home. That's what I wanted to elaborate on and give you a story about if you're willing to do something with him. Well, he was a nurse beater, and he didn't take no crap, even though he had 5 operations from age 91 to 97 almost.
A nurse beater.
Yeah. He had 5 operations. He lived here with me until he was 91 and driving his car every day.
Okay.
And then he got sick, and he first had kidney stones, and he passed them in the emergency room. And then he had amputation. Well, he had the prostate gland removed, and then he had his he had the first right leg amputated in 1982. He was 92 then, and he was a minister. So he was back in the pulpit, and within 3 months after he had his first amputation. Yeah.
Was he a minister at Zion Baptist?
No, he was a co-pastor at East Bethel around here, Broad and Erie.
Oh, then how did you become a member at Zion Baptist?
Did I become a member?
Yeah.
Because I didn't like the church he was working at.
Okay.
So I joined Zion.
All right.
And I was baptized in Second Baptist on Germantown Avenue. My father was acting pastor there for 3 years. So that's where I originally joined when I was about 16 years old. Now I sing with the Troubadours at Zion, and I work with the drama club at Zion.
Okay. Well, let me ask you let me ask you one of those universal questions, and that is, what is your outlook on the condition of the black family during the next century? What do you foresee for the black family?
Well, if they continue getting their education and also get rid of this threat of dope destroying us, I think we got a good outlook on the next generations. But the thing that frightens me is how the younger group of people and the athletic family of black athletes are leaning towards cocaine and crack and narcotics. That frightens me terribly, and also I hate to see the youth out in the street with these big loud music boxes and raising Cain and fighting among each other, and the street wars in Washington and the dope wars in Los Angeles. I hate to see that happening. It looks like it's the white man's trick, but I hope that the black parents will take hold of the situation and also educate their kids better if they're not going to get it in schools and colleges. We had self-pride when I was coming up, and we didn't think about any dope or either marijuana. But now we have looked like lost control of our families at home, and they have been starting to, go the wrong way. But I think that they need to put this Bible back in the public school system, and maybe that'll help the situation.
I agree. What is your political affiliation?
Well, right now I'm Democratic, and I didn't like Reagan and what he did, and I didn't like Bush with the Colombian cartel incorporating with the smuggling of drugs from Panama. And I've been listening to Jack Anderson for years, and I think Jack Anderson had warned us that this whole country could be swallowed up by the Colombian cartel and the different things that are happening in Central America and South America as far as the narcotics coming in the country. And when I was with Customs, I was a great opponent to Customs making buys, and I also didn't like what was going on with other Customs inspectors losing the dignity of their badges by falling for bribe and doing things contrary to the law themselves.
Mr. Gaines, you like to play golf also.
Oh yeah, I play golf. I was telling you, I usually go to California and stay 3 to 4 weeks at this time of the year in March, and sometime I go as early as January. And I like golf, and I'm a chairman of I'm in charge of public relations committee for Freeway Golf Course in Turnersville, New Jersey. That's part of my leisure also, along with drama.
Okay. Well, Mr. Gaines, I'd like to take this time to thank you, and this is Sylvester Gaines, to thank you for participating for the Charles L. Blockson Afro-American Historical Collection audio library. Do you have any last words that you'd like to comment on, or closing remarks?
I'd just like to say, if you like my story and you think it can go on the film, I would like to see it portrayed, and I have some additional things to offer as far as my father's life on the farm and my life with my father after I went through Customs and went through the invasion of France, and I have a lot other things to tell you about incidents that happened in Customs, and also you got my newspaper write-up from the magazine they printed on my life story in Customs, and I have some other events that I would like to go over with you as far as other incidents that happened to me in life, as far as the prejudices I have run into. And I have several tape recordings of my father's experiences after he came to what was supposed to be a better way of life in the North, and he didn't find it there. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. Enjoy talking to you.
Yeah.
Now, what monetary value could I get if you did write a story and it made the bestseller?
you get the copyright there.
Other things to tell you about.
You would,
You got my newspaper right up from the magazine. They printed on my life story and custom. And I have some other
I'll let it stand.
events that I would like to go over with you as far as incidents that happened to me in life as far as the prejudice.
Oh, and
It's my nephew. They have something in here. The nephew that played the cop,
okay.
he did an article on who's the victim. I didn't make any copies of this here. Oh, that's right. I was supposed to show you the letter I got from Channel 6. You know, about the replaying the play.
Okay, I probably need your signature there. I'll have your name typed in, and I'll sign the witness.
What's this for?
That's consent to release the tape for the Blackson collection. That's for the tape here.
That's signing all my rights away, buddy.
It's just for the tape, though.
Hmm?
It's just for the tape, though.
It says this will make any copyright or any photographs, audio tape recording, videotapes, or other film of me taken at such and such a time on about, and for you to use, publish, and distribute such film or any reproductions or edited versions thereof as often as desired for any commercial, advertising, record, use, edit, publish, and distribute any statements made by me during this production of such film for any commercial advertising, and I hereby also waive any right of inspection or approval and release Charles L. Blockson, Afro-American collection, from any claims or demands I may have arising out of the aforesaid making. Now I can't sign that.
It's for the tape here.
Yeah, but releases me of any rights that I have to any future publication.
No, it just says I hereby give Charles L. Blockson
I can read now, buddy.
unconditional right to a make and copyright and photograph audio tape recording, videotapes of me taking at your address on or about today's date. That's this tape. You know, to copyright, and in other words, this tape recording, if he wanted to make copies of this recording, he could. Yeah.
Or any parts or any stories resulting from it.
Well, the chances of him making a story resulting from it is slim. You know, I don't know. Publish and distribute such on or about, and to use, publish, and distribute such film or any reproduction, edited version thereof, as often as desired for any commercial or advertising purposes. That's this tape. As desired for any commercial, edit, publish, distribute, commercial, advertising purpose, hereby waive for any right of inspection. Well, yes, it does say that about this tape. There's nothing I can say about that, you know, and I can understand your position if you do not wish to sign it, but as I said, I don't see, you know, the most that could happen, if in fact something does get made from this tape, I believe, even though you sign your name on this, I'm pretty sure your lawyer could definitely bust this down, and make it so that you would get paid for it.
Yeah, but why can't I put something in writing? Like I get 50-50 or something like that for anything that's used in this on a profit sharing basis.
Because these tapes are not done in that format. These tapes, from my knowledge, this is what they tell me, is just being stored in a library, and from that, nothing is probably will be made from. But that's not to say 10-15 years from now somebody may come along and listen to all these tapes and put some kind of fantastic story together. I'm not saying that won't happen.
Yeah, but then I won't get nothing out of it. And I have a book that I want to write, and
this does not say that you won't get anything from it. I'm willing.
Yeah, but
what
that's
I'm
releasing him
sure.
obligations.
Well, it's like this.
Well, why can't I write in a clause in that space?
If you want to write
stating that.
If you want to write in the clause, write in the clause.
Okay.
I don't have a problem if you write in the clause.
You gonna give me a copy of the write-in clause?
Yes, I can get you a copy of that also.
And can I cross out some of this?
No, I wouldn't cross out any of it though, because that's what they're saying. You can put your clause in there that says that your signature is conditional upon something or whatever. I would say conditional for 1 year, because whatever they're going to do, they can't do it in 1 year.
Yeah, but they might wait till the next year and then make a mint.
Well, that's when you're free. Yeah. That's when your authorization expires. And when they make a mint, you do too. You just have an expiring signature. That makes it real simple. Your signature expires at 12 a.m. On this date a year from now. That means, somebody tries to come along and do something and to make money. Not only do you have the expired signature, but you got my voice on tape here to say that, hey, that I verify that your signature expires. Other than that, I really don't know what to tell you. I don't know what will actually happen with those tapes.
I tell you what, suppose I let my attorney see this, and then I'll sign it and send it to you, and if he wants to add some of my concerns,
it'll be fine with me.
Okay?
It'll be fine with me.
I'll keep this and let him look at it, and then if he wants to reword it to your satisfaction, or to my satisfaction.
Yeah, to your satisfaction.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. My satisfaction is, I don't have a strong interest here.
Yeah. Okay. Alrighty.
That pen. Can I use your pen?
Yeah.
You could, if you give it to your attorney and he has a typewriter, you can tell him he could fill in that information.
Yeah, okay.
I'll sign it as your witness, though.
All right. But see, I don't want to mess up my possibility of getting, some big money for a story. And I had planned on writing it. In fact, my son's oldest daughter that graduated in communication and writing from Glassboro State. She was editor-in-chief of the Glassboro Times.
Mm-hmm.
I want her to write a life story on it, and we make some money out of it. I think I can get a bestseller going. So, this is yours.
Yeah. Actually, that's just going to be, and then that's going to give you a blank one.
Okay.
And this one here, I'll just let you keep both of them.
Okay.
Anyway, I understand how you feel, because there is the possibility that something may, blocks and get assassinated tomorrow, and somebody rushes in to take control of the library and say, "Oh, guys, listen to all these fantastic stories," and next thing you know, somebody's there, trying to make some money. So I can't say that that won't happen.
Yeah.
But to me, the chances of that happening to me is slim and far between.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
There's a write-up that they had in this magazine. This is Bill Dickey. He's head of a junior golf program.
Okay.
This was in '86, 3 years ago. I went the next year to that fundraiser for junior golfers. They're trying to get funding and college scholarships for young black golfers.
Mm-hmm.
To send them on their way.
It's a nice book, though.
It's a write-up I sent about our golf course. I think a paperclip is in the top about the history of Turnersville.
Well, Miss Gaines, I'm gonna.
That's my nephew's. This is the one that lives upstairs. Oh, wait. Yeah. This one is the cop that filmed in the picture.
Okay.
This is the youngest. No, this is the youngest. He's got his own bus company. He paid for a bus with receipts in less than a year.
What's his name? One again?
Ricky is on the right, on this end.
Okay.
And Bruce is the tallest one. He's the one with the bus company. He's a minister too. He branched out of Deliverance Church. He used to take care of their audio equipment up there.
He's
Reverend
still a
Smith.
minister?
Yeah.
What's he? Is he preaching at a church?
He's doing revival work. And he's like visiting ministers, to go
Yeah, go to different churches.
Yeah.
Is he in Philadelphia?
Yeah. All of them are in Philly. The one in second from right is the engineer for Conrail. And the third from the right. That's
The
one.
Brooks boys, huh?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, so you'll hear from me after I consult with him. If it's not tomorrow, you'll hear from me before the week is out.
Okay, take your time.
And I appreciate your efforts and you coming up.
Well, I figure.
But I want to be covered, so I don't want to tie myself down to, what's his name, Stockton? Bloxon.
Yeah. The Charles L. Bloxon collection.
Yeah. I was going to show you some of the golf course clips of it. I was in charge of the tournament, video for the tournament. Guess you don't have time for that.
I actually got to try to get back and try to clean up my house.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
My room there.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's
Not
worse
bad
than
as
yours.
mine. Mr. Tony Clay came up and interviewed me about my family tree on Tuesday, February the 7th. And he got this interview, but I wouldn't sign any papers. He signed one as my witness for the Charles Bronson Historical Collection for Temple University College. He's a student at Temple University College. And I told him I'd see my attorney before I released any stories to him, because I might want to get the story in my historical sketch copyrighted for my own purposes in the future. I told him that I would let my attorney look at his papers before I signed any agreement to hold Charles Bronson harmless if he printed my story or copyrighted any information that I gave him on my family tree. So I had the papers that he wanted me to sign in my possession without a signature until I contact my attorney. So that's about it. And I want to further talk it over with Steve Berry, who was the director of When It's Your Turn. And I thought that Tony Clay was getting a story to write a sequel to When It's Your Turn about my father. After he got in the nursing home, I was going to portray that part for a sequel, but it looked like he was just getting something for Charles Bronson and not protecting my interest in a story or a future film or sequel to When It's Your Turn. So I just turned him down bluntly that I would not sign his documents that he wanted me to sign, releasing my story to this Charles Bronson Historical Collection. Alright, that's about it. Yeah, what I thought was Tony Clay was assistant director for When It's Your Turn to Steve Berry. And Steve Berry wrote the play, and I had been talking to Steve Berry about making a sequel, including my father, Reverend Sylvester Gaines Sr. But he looked like he was just interested in making this story for Charles Bloxon collection at Temple University. So that's why I wouldn't sign his papers. And I said I'll talk to Steve Berry and see what he has to say about this Tony Clay. I don't know whether they were working together or he just wanted to get my story and I not get any money for it. Because the last play that I made for Steve Berry, they said that I might get paid later for that. That was Burger and Fries. We made the commercial, and I didn't even get any pay from that. In fact, I heard that Steve Berry is off to Washington, and he's teaching playwriting and theatrical productions and videotaping for Howard University. So the last time I talked to him, he was home on leave once, and just before he got the job at Howard. But he's been going back to Des Moines, Iowa with his family. But I talked to his girlfriend, Nadine, every now and then. She works here in the city, and I keep in touch with her, but I don't know when. Steve Berry has been to Philly since he's got the job at Howard University. So that's about it. This is addition I made on this when I played this tape last. And January 1991. Thank you.